Now available for the first time on Google Play, The Man Crisis. Learn why so many men are falling apart in an increasingly gynocentric world in The Man Crisis. Get your copy on Google Play today. A 75-year-old man allegedly fatally shot his 81-year-old neighbors over a dispute over the shared laundry room in their condominium complex. Now, in this incident on December 4th, it is alleged that 75-year-old Hugh Hootman allegedly fatally shot his neighbors Ginger Wallace and Henry Wallace at the Cedar Point condominium complex in East Ocean Boulevard. Now, according to reports, your Hootman allegedly wound up yelling at your Henry Wallace's wife regarding her leaving the door of the shared laundry room open, and your Hootman was allegedly confronted by Henry Wallace at the mailbox demanding that he apologized. And after hearing this demand, your Hootman pushed past Henry, and things escalated, and your Hugh Hootman allegedly wound up shooting your Henry Wallace several times with a weapon that he usually carried on his person. And when Henry's wife went to find out what was going on, your Hugh Hootman allegedly wound up shooting her twice as well, taking her life. Now, the police are seeing this as an isolated incident, but when I take a critical examination of the behaviors of your 75-year-old Hugh Hootman, they fit the pattern and profile for beta males that I talk about in my book, The Man Crisis. And it's clear to me that your Hugh Hootman basically was one of these beta males who was extremely frustrated regarding this whole situation regarding the shared laundry room. And because he was frustrated regarding the situation regarding the shared laundry room, he wound up exploding in a rage that he had been seething in for some extended period of time, and then wound up acting impulsively by taking the life of his neighbors and not thinking critically about his future. Now, this whole story really shows me how a man can go from being a man living in his golden years to becoming a man in crisis due to the dysfunctional way he has been raised. Now, this man at 75 years old was basically in the twilight of his life and possibly could have gone on to just live until the last days of his life comfortably in that Florida condominium complex. Unfortunately, because he was not thinking critically, what he's done is put himself on the road to possibly winding up doing the last years of his life inside of a prison cell. And that's what can happen to a beta male when he does not go out here and really think about the big picture of his life. He can wind up putting himself in a situation where his entire life can change in an instant. And what's really sad here is that your Hugh Hootman wound up going from living his twilight years in the comfort of a Florida condominium complex because he got caught up in his feelings regarding the door of a shared laundry space remaining open. And instead of him just knowing how to either just brush it off or go out here and approach his neighbors and ask them politely to be considerate as related to this door, what he did was go out here and first explode in anger at your Ginger Wallace as related to the door. And then when her husband went to confront him, he then walked right past him and things escalated. And as things escalated, he acted on impulse. And as he acted on that impulse, he had to deal with the consequences of his actions after he clearly shot your Mr. Wallace with the pistol, and then with malice of forethought, I believe, went out here and murdered your Ginger Wallace, because after he shot your Henry Wallace, which could have been considered manslaughter because it was an impulsive act, the second act of shooting your Ginger Wallace could be considered murder, because him shooting her was something that he did that showed malice of forethought, because he had already known he was in trouble for this shooting. But what beta males like to do is they think they can go out here and try to destroy the evidence or witnesses to make their world smooth. Unfortunately, in the case of your Hugh Hoopman, as he wound up shooting your Henry Wallace and Ginger Wallace, he went from being on a smooth road to living out his last days to winding up on a rough road in his golden years, because your 75-year-old Hugh Hoopman, after murdering his two 81-year-old neighbors, is definitely going to be on a hard road in his last days of his life for these murders, because if he is convicted of these murders, he will be spending the last years of his life inside of a penitentiary, where he's going to have to try to go out here and deal with a hard environment of a prison cell and deal with people like your Bubba, Tiny, Roscoe, and Big Dave, who are definitely going to be making life hard for him inside of that penitentiary, as they're going to be demanding that this old man come wash the skid mark out of their drawers. And after they demand that he wash the skid marks out of their drawers with a toothbrush, they're going to be demanding he be traded for little commissary like Little Debbie snack cakes, Ramen noodles, cups of coffee, Kit Kat candy bars, packets of Crystal Light, 6-pack Oreo cookies, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle pies, and your Chico sticks. That is the place that your Hugh Hoopman is going to wind up in. And as they turn him out in in the last days of his life, sadly, he's going to look back at that time in his golden years and realize how he basically destroyed the final years of his life, because he acted on his feelings impulsively regarding something as trivial as a door in a shared laundry space. And that's what many beta males do out here. They oftentimes throw away their lives and throw away the final years of their life like this old man did. And sadly, when I look at this story, it is a story of an old man who became an old man in crisis. And he became an old man in crisis over a minor dispute that has basically led to him not only ending the lives of his neighbors, but basically ending his entire life. And as he has ended his life and ensured that he's going to do the final years of his life in a penitentiary, he has basically made it where he has destroyed his own life. And again, this whole case is not about gun control, because this man had a legal permit to go out here and conceal carry his gun, which is legal in the state of Florida. No, this whole case just shows what happens when a man doesn't have discipline and self-control, because a man without discipline and self-control, what he does is he acts impulsively. And when he acts impulsively, what he does is do damage to the lives of people over trivial matters. And then as he's doing damage to their lives, he does harm to his own life, because again, he acts on his feelings. And when he acts on his feelings, he winds up doing things that he regrets when he has to think about it. And that's something many males out here don't really think about when they go out here and participate in their actions. But what I see here as related to Hugh Hoopman is that a old man can become a man in crisis if he doesn't understand how to navigate the world. Because if your neighbors are giving you issues as related to something like a laundry room, you can either just address it with them in a reasonable fashion, or you can just pack up all your stuff and move to another place and not deal with those individuals. Those are your two choices as related to your life, and those are the two choices a man has to make if he wants to maintain the most important intangible, and that intangible is his freedom. Because it's sad to see a 75-year-old man throw away the intangible of his freedom in the last days of his life because he got so caught up in his feelings about a laundry room door being open that he was not thinking, hey, these are the last days of my life. These neighbors I have are 81 years old. They may go before I go. And the whole thing is that I need to think about my life and where I want it to be in order to start getting my house in order for the kingdom. But sadly, he wasn't thinking about the kingdom, and now he's going to the worst place, which is the penitentiary. And again, it's sad to see that a 75-year-old man is now on the road to being in prison for the final years of his life because allegedly murdering your 81-year-old neighbors, that's going to be life in prison. And for a 75-year-old man, again, it's a sad way to end your life, to wind up dying in prison. But this is what happens when you are a man who does not understand how to navigate the world, does not know how to think critically, does not know how to conflict resolve, because men who don't know how to do these things and don't get these male life skills or maintain these life skills when they get older, what happens is when these men don't maintain their male life skills and male survival skills and take life for granted, is they wind up on the road to becoming a man in crisis. Now, if you want to learn more about why many of these beta males act impulsively and participate in these extreme acts of violence even in their old age, you can pick up my book, The Man Crisis, on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find The Man Crisis at other online booksellers like Smashwords, the iBookstore, Google Play, and Barnes & Noble. And if you want to see me make more men's issues videos like this, you can donate to my Patreon, my PayPal, or my Cash App by clicking the link in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available in paperback. From the author of the critically acclaimed book, The Man Crisis, comes The Woman Crisis. Learn why so many women have become lost in their quest to have it all in The Woman Crisis. Get your copy of The Woman Crisis in paperback at Amazon.com and online booksellers today.